Hello there, good evening and welcome to Gersnet. It's your weekly Rangers podcast. My name's Scott Patterson and it's my debut on the review show. Lots to discuss. Big week for Rangers, as it always is just now. And before I get into the introductions tonight, I'd like to say a big hello to our partners across at Football Prizes. They are giving away an absolutely stonking prize for the next wee while. It's a one-of-a-kind Glasgow a very short while ago. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, Mendes, Jelic, Boyd, Larry Ferguson, Albert Smalls, they're all on there. And you have a great chance of winning that £3.95 for a ticket if you jump on their website. All the W's, footballprizes.co.uk. Draw is made at noon on the I think is a not too distant future. If you fancy a winning that, it's a cracking top. I recommend you jump onto their website and have a wee bash it. Trying your luck. Craig Gray joins us. Hi Craig, how are you, mate?
I'm very good, Scott. It's a Friday night and it's been another big week and we're looking forward to another big week at Rangers, aren't we?
Listen, it's been absolutely huge. Lots to talk about and sort of various different order. We obviously look ahead to the trip to Easter Road tomorrow. Historically, always a sort of bit of a sketchy tie and one that I don't think anyone ever really looks forward to. Only went there once last year, of course. We'll get to a little bit about James Tavernier renewing his contract again, which is great news. And we'll also go back to last Tuesday. Craig, we'll start there. You big European night, Ibrox. It's great to welcome these. You felt going at the PSV first leg, knowing that the first leg was at home. What we had to go in there and do, which was effectively win, which we know we never ended up doing. Did you go in with any degree of confidence as such?
Oh, of course I went in with confidence. I mean, after the run that we had in Europe last year, and even the couple of seasons before that, why wouldn't you? PSV, you know, they're obviously a top-class side. They're there for a reason. But we're at this stage at Rangers now where we shouldn't be afraid of anyone. And I think we went into that game knowing that we shouldn't be afraid of them. I think it was a pretty even game. Obviously, we'll come into it more as the night goes on. But absolutely going into that full of confidence. And I think at the end of the day, the result was probably the fair result on reflection. But absolutely, nowadays you go into these games full of confidence, knowing that you can certainly pick up a result. And even though we never got the win that we wanted, the tie's not over. Can still go there next Wednesday. Even if the game draws, if it's a 0-0 or a 1-1, there's no away goals. So it's not quite as bad as what it could have been a couple of years ago. So look, I went into the game full of confidence. We've came out with a result that definitely keeps us in the tie. So at the end of the day, it's a one-match playoff next Wednesday in Eindhoven. So let's go for it.
Absolutely. I want to focus on one guy in particular. I thought that James Sands was excellent on the night. I thought he played really, really well. I felt there was much in taking a break. Always going to him and he was passing wee triangles in around 18-yarder. However, I think that's the way he's obviously been taught to play by Gio and the coaching staff at the club. He seems really comfortable. I think doing that obviously comes from his history of playing that sort of midfield role as well. So he's clearly very comfortable with the argument I would suggest now is that jersey is his. I mean, I know we've brought in Ben Davies, John Shooter's there, and he's missed out for some really sad reasons of late. At the moment, the jersey has to be Sands to lose, don't you think?
Well, I mean, I certainly wouldn't disagree with you on that one. I think Sands has probably been, apart from maybe Cholak, a standout player so far this season.
Yeah.
Especially considering how sort of sparsely used he was last year. I think in the long term, I mean, this is just my opinion, I don't know if you agree, I think he might be viewed as a sort of long-term replacement for Ryan Jack. But certainly at the moment, at centre-back, which maybe isn't his natural position, he's been doing absolutely fantastic. And I think, as I said a couple of weeks ago when I was on, I think we're now starting to see the way that Gio wants to play. He wants to play with two centre-backs that can play football, that can pass out from the back. I think Connor Goldson must have been hanging around the edge of the opposition's D for for a lot of the games recently. I mean, it's more than what you normally see of him, and he's even went up a couple of runs down the right hand side. But I think on Sands he's been excellent. I think you looked at his stats the other day as well. I mean, I've not got them off by heart, but they were pretty spot on. And one thing that I do like about him, there has been occasions where he's given the ball away. However, on every single occasion this season anyway, he's recovered, and I think that's great. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if that jersey is his just now. Maybe for the game tomorrow, there might be a wee change. I know he was ill for the game last week against St Johnstone, and Davies probably will come in tomorrow. But I can see certainly Sands coming back in on Wednesday, especially when you probably need to get a goal to at least take it to extra time. So I think if you're starting to play from the back in the way that the manager clearly now wants to play, I think you're going to need someone like Sands. But it's not a bad dilemma to have. No, it's not. I think to have the options that Giovanni has for this season, without even talking about guys like Hollander, who I think is a cracking big defender. We obviously know that he's got his injury problems just now. He's really, really, really far out the picture just now. And I think if he was fit, he'd be struggling to get anywhere on the bench. To be perfectly honest with you, I think he would find that a challenge. I want to focus on maybe the two goals that PSV scored, because I felt they highlighted some issues we maybe have in and around the centre half role. I think for the first goal, I think the ball comes to Goldson really a wee bit too quickly for him to maybe adjust himself to clear the ball properly, and it looks like he's headed dangerous area. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, look, I think at the time I was a wee bit angry with Goldson for the first goal. And then I watched it back and I listened to the manager's interview afterwards, and I think he actually did make a good point where he says, we cleared the ball, but it's just maybe a wee bit unlucky that it's came off. I think it was Tavernier. It came off and then it just fell obviously to the PSV player. Look, I suppose these things can happen sometimes. Maybe you would say, if you're going to be critical of Goldson, could the connection have been better? Could it have been put out to a different area of the pitch where you're not maybe hitting your home player? We'll all come into the second goal. I think the second goal's, it's a nonsense. But I think we can all agree on that. I think the first goal, at the time, I was unhappy and a bit angry. But looking back at it, I mean, I'm a wee bit more sort of relaxed about it. Because I did think it was a wee bit unlucky. And at the same time, you can say that PSV were maybe a bit unlucky for our second goal as well. So yeah, I think these things do happen sometimes, and you just sort of need to accept it. Listen, I'm glad you brought up the second goal, because I think it's one thing that we've been really, really good. Has largely been our defending. We remember what it was like when Steven Gerrard was there, where we had that fantastic record, and it seemed to have went belly up a little bit. There's a lot of basics, I think, in the second goal. I actually felt, and I don't know if I'm a great believer, and I say this not as a goalkeeper, and anyone that will watch will probably be screaming down, I'm a goalkeeper. That in or around the 6 yard box, you're expecting your goalkeeper maybe to pop up and deal with that. I was maybe a wee bit surprised that John McLaughlin never came and tried to punch it. I don't know if you agree. I've not actually thought about that, to be honest, until you brought it up. And it's quite an interesting point, because, I think if you look at the whole McLaughlin-McGregor debate from the last few months, I think a lot of people's arguments was that the whole reason that we didn't want, I'm not saying that I did or didn't want McGregor as the number one, but I think I'm not going to put all my eggs in the basket there. But a lot of people's argument was that McGregor doesn't come for balls. And if people are saying that McLaughlin does do that, and then in a big game like that, when we're 2-1 up, he doesn't do that. He doesn't, yeah. Then there's obviously maybe a wee conflict of interest there. And that's actually a very good point. As I say, that's not something that I'd actually thought about. And looking back now, I can certainly see where you're coming from. And that probably is because you are a goalie yourself, and it's that whole goalkeepers union sort of thing. Yeah. But I've never really thought about that, and I do think that's a good point. You know, the way I think you just wonder, and listen, you're right, completely has
his career, been well known for coming off his line and punching the ball clear, or coming in indeed claiming the ball. I do just wonder if you've got a goalkeeper that's maybe oozing in confidence, he just comes and punches that ball out the road. Maybe not. Do you know what I mean? I may be wrong.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean,
if our goalkeeper could have came and done that.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I think now that I'm looking back on it with that point in mind, I think a goalkeeper's certainly a part of the issue. For me, the biggest issue was Goldson just not getting to the ball.
Agreed.
The second issue is not having a man on the post.
It's incredible.
I mean, look, the game that we won, I mean, I've never really sort of thought about men at the post, but I remember the game we won at Celtic Park a couple of years ago where Kartic scored that winner, and I think Celtic had 2 chances cleared off the line off the post by Stephen Davis.
Yeah, that's right.
And then as soon as that happened, you watch for it every single time. You go, there's Davis. And when we concede a goal and there is no man in the post, you go, well, if only Davis was there. But it could have been anyone. And obviously, well, actually, I think Davis might have been taken off by the time that second goal gets scored. But I think first things first, Goldson needs to clear his lines. He needs to get to that ball. And the only thing you can hope coming out of that is that Goldson, more than anyone, and I'm sure he will feel very angry at himself, and he'll know that he's made that mistake. And that's what you want. You just want a response. Obviously, we've got the game tomorrow, and then next week. But like, it's done now. He can't really do much about it. I do think, unfortunately, Goldson's at fault for that second goal. But as I say, it's one of those things. We just sort of need to go on with it and hope that we learn from it. At the same time as well, if I can maybe just add in that, obviously that was the first time playing under the sort of Champions League umbrella. I know obviously it's not the Champions League proper, but when you've got the music and the ball in the middle and stuff like that, you know, yeah, it felt like a big occasion. And I said to people on Tuesday, I went, throughout the game, I felt a lot more nervous than what I did throughout a lot of the games last year against the likes of Dortmund and Leipzig.
Yeah.
And it might have been because that whole sort of the Champions League factor, the money that's up for grabs, etc., etc. And listen, maybe the players felt that a wee bit as well, but I thought the performance was pretty good, as I said. So, look, I thought we played well on Tuesday. Okay, we were at fault certainly for minimum one of the goals, probably both of them, if you want to be really critical. But we'll grow into it. I think next Wednesday it'll be a real marker of sort of how far this team's come in the last sort of year or so. Especially remembering as well the amount of new signings that were in there. Tillman, Lawrence, and Cholak started, and I know we'll get on to Cholak later on, but that's 3 players out of 11. Even McLaughlin as well. Yeah, because McLaughlin never played any of the games in the Europa League last year. So about a third of the squad weren't the players that went on that fantastic run to the final. So it's still maybe going to take them a wee bit of time to sort of get used to that sort of big match pressure and big match atmosphere. But I thought all in all they'd done pretty well considering.
I like to hear you refer to big match atmosphere and Cholak almost in the same sentence. I think that I just wonder how important you think it is for the creation European nice Ibrox. We now know he's leads the line well, as far as I'm concerned, leads it in a different way to what we've maybe been used to with Alfredo Morelos the last couple of seasons. I personally think he looks just as much of a threat as what Alfredo does. He offers a different threat, as I say. I've been really impressed with him since he came in.
No, he's been absolutely brilliant. Listen, you can't disagree or argue with facts. He scored 4 goals in 4 games. 4 goals in 6 games if you include his stats, but that's still a good record. Yeah. And it would have been 5 and 6 if that goal at Livy wasn't ruled out. And he also had a goal, I think, it was against Blackpool as well in pre-season that got ruled out. Exactly, but we'll just count him for his sake. But you're right, he's been brilliant. And I think last season, well, certainly towards the end of the season, I think what we missed is a guy to sort of take the bull by the horns in the box. Listen, we all know Roof's a great finisher. Unfortunately, he's had his injury issues. Sakala had to play up top towards the end in a couple of games. And we know that his finishing ability isn't quite there.
No.
But Cholak, he's got it. I mean, he scored, I think it was 6 goals in 8 qualifiers for Malmo last year. Obviously, unfortunately, two of them were against us, but I mean, they're big. I mean, if you look at the size of a club as Malmo, I mean, every Champions League qualifier for them is massive. So if you can score 75% of the time in big games like that against big opposition, it shows that the guy's a player. He's had a pretty decent scoring record wherever he's went. He's 28 years, I think, 28 years of age, I'm sure. And I think he's probably in his prime now. And one thing that I love about him, probably more than anything else, is the passion. I mean, you could see after he scored his goal on Tuesday, beating his heart with a badge and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I think the guy's only been here for a couple of months. And I think he gets it. I mean, I was lucky enough last year, I was in the press box for that Malmo game, and it was actually Cholak who came out and done the Malmo post-match interview as a player.
Right.
And as maybe a wee exclusive for the Gersnet podcast, the man, honest to God, you could not meet a nicer man. He was so complimentary of Rangers, of the supporters, of Ibrox, of everything. And the way that he celebrated, the way that Malmo celebrated that result, they knew that was a massive, massive result for them.
Yeah.
They went into that game thinking, we're not going to get through here. Even though they obviously got the win in the first leg. So they, if they get through, it was a massive bonus for them. But for me, just the maturity of the guy to sort of, and the classiness to come out and say, we didn't think we were going to win, the atmosphere was amazing, and to say only good things about Rangers after they just did that to us, I thought really spoke volumes of him. And to be honest, anytime he spoke about Rangers now since he signed, he's been absolutely the same. So, as you say, he leads the line differently from Morelos. Sorry, but that's good because it means that the opposition don't know what you're going to get. I mean, this game tomorrow, I would say 50% of the fans say we should start Morelos, 50% will say we should start Cholak.
Yeah.
That's good because the opposition don't know who we're going to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. For at the weekend that if he goes on to be half as successful as your Dado Persos and Nikica Jelavic and the like, then we've won a watch. And he's started very, very well. I think all the support are right. Difficult to come in and try and sort of fill the Morelos jersey. That's effectively what he's trying to do. So, listen, it can't be easy for him. I'm very aware, if you are watching on YouTube, that I do have a bit of a sticky internet connection tonight. So, I apologise for that if it's making enjoyable as it probably should be. Were you doing press box duties on Tuesday after the game? Were you in around that area?
I wasn't, no. I actually, a bit of a funny story. I was doing it on Monday for the pre-match press conferences, and I got to ask Ruud van Nistelrooy a question about his previous experiences at Ibrox, and I accidentally called PSV PSG. And I can assure you he corrected me on it. But it was good. So I was in for the first two league games, but I wasn't in on Tuesday, unfortunately. But I did see, I believe it was Tillman and Matondo be interviewed after the game, sort of on social media. But no, I wasn't in there on Tuesday, unfortunately.
I mean, I was just going to refer to, I felt Giovanni was quite bullish after the game. And my point led with when we started the discussion. I think he's still quite confident that he can get us a result in Holland on Wednesday night.
Of course he is, and why shouldn't he be? We're beating better teams away from home in Europe in the last 6-7 months. Why shouldn't we be? To be honest, I think the game on Wednesday, I don't think you'll see much difference from the game last Tuesday in terms of the way that the teams play. I think the second leg against USG, we had to come out a bit more because obviously we had to score at least 2 goals. So we played, I think it was Arfield and Tillman in the midfield. But I think I can't really see the team changing from last Tuesday, to be honest. Obviously injuries and whatnot dictating, but I think both teams will go for it. I think if we can get into the sort of maybe 60, 70 minute mark and we're at least still in the game, PSV will unfortunately be the favourites now because they're at home.
Yeah.
So they've got that home advantage. But if the game's tied and it's nearing extra time, that home crowd will get on their back. Very similar to the way that it would happen if it was the other way about. So on the one hand, it's kind of weird because we're so used to having a second leg at Ibrox and the advantage that has. Sorry, but at the same time, if you turn that around, if we can keep ourselves in the game for long enough, then it could actually turn into advantage for us next Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, shortly after the game, and as far as days are concerned, we of course announced that James Tavernier had signed an extension to existing contract. A quick hello to our friend at Forrest Precision Engineering, partners of Gersnet this season. They're a subcontract Glasgow-based engineering company and been a big commercial supporter of the club for many years now, and we're really glad to have them on board. You can check out their website, all W's, Forrest with 2 R's, precisioneng.com. Stunning lounge in the main stand at Ibrox. It really is cracking. If you're looking for a way to book it and get in there and enjoy all the good things that happen there, you can email the club at hospitality@rangers.co.uk. Craig, Tav's obviously signed a new contract this week. Is your no joint as everyone else seems to be that you don't know when it's until?
Yeah, it is a bit of a weird one. I mean, I know that Rangers are releasing an interview with him exclusively on Rangers TV tonight. Yeah. I don't know if that's already been. So I don't know if that might be an interview, and maybe that was just a sort of a thing to try and get more views on more subscribers to Rangers TV. But as the article in the press release said, we can only go off that. It says it will take him deep into his 30s, which, as we all know, should mean at the very least 10 years, a testimonial. Listen, we can go on all day about Tav. You know, for me, he's a legend, especially for everything that he's been through at the club. That first season, it was great, obviously in the Championship. Our first season back in the top flight, it was nowhere near what he could be. And then I actually think that as soon as he got the captaincy, I know it was slightly before Gerrard, but Gerrard made him the sort of official captain when he came in. I think since then, he's just been incredible. I mean, every season, double figures in goals, double figures in assists. And I think it was obviously great the 55 season, but so people will probably say that as his best season. But I think last season, for the goals that he scored in Europe, the level that guy was playing at against the players that he was playing against was unbelievable. And most of the goals that he scored in the Europa League were from open play. I mean, if you look at the Braga goal, the Leipzig goal, they're pretty much identical, where the left back from both sides just failed to pick up his runs in at the back post, and he taps it in. The guy's incredible. I mean, I think he's 30 years of age now. I would not be surprised if he continues at the same level for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And then even after that, he will probably still have a part to play. Whether that be as a sort of rotational player, a squad player, whatever. But I actually think we've not even seen the best of Tav yet. I really hope we haven't, because we've seen a lot of good of him. And at the end of the day, people are always going to say, he's maybe not as great defensively. To be honest, I think that argument went out the window 3 years ago or something like that. He's great defensively. He's even better going forward. The guy's a legend. There's no really much more you can say about him. Just so happy that he's still staying here, and that he's hopefully going to be seeing out the rest of his career at Ibrox.
I think for someone in my age, which is his early 40s, the thing about Tav is that he plays that sort of fullback role. He's the epitome of a modern day fullback, where you almost, particularly if you're playing a back four and you've given the licence to bomb forward, you become better at going forward, or look better going forward than what you look better perhaps in a defensive position, namely because you're basically given a free roll down the side. And we know he's got that we're seeing just now. If naturally he lost slightly to almost an inside forward, if you like, and it just gives Tav the freedom of that flank to do as he pleases. Interesting to hear you speak about I'm sort of keeping into that back post role. The Dortmund goal at Ibrox will be one that sort of lives with me for a long, long time. The sort of high raking ball, and then it came.
Yeah,
I think at that point, I don't. If you want the ball to sit to, do you know what I mean? Because you know that Tav just going to smash it, and I think we're lucky to have him. I think that I've read a few things tonight online that suggest that 2025, 26 has been mentioned, which are absolutely right. Takes him into a sort of testimonial period, and if he hangs around until then, I think he'll be absolutely celebrated.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, especially about the Dortmund goal. I mean, that was just incredible. The wee bounce, and as you say, as soon as it falls to him, you know that it's going to get smacked in the back of the net. I think it's interesting as well, your point, Scott, about the sort of free role that he has down the right-hand side, because I think since Gerrard's came in, a lot of people have said it's great that we've got a Kent on the left-hand side. We want a replacement on the right-hand side. But at the same time, you know, we've got Tavernier there on the right-hand side, and we know, you know, obviously Barisic has his moments, but he can be good going forward at the end of the day. But maybe the reason that we've never signed a sort of proper right winger, perhaps until Matondo, is because we've got Tav there, and you know, maybe we can't play that way. Maybe we need a sort of inside right forward, as you said, to allow Tav to play his game. And again, obviously, we don't know the length of the contract because Rangers have been very secretive, which is, of course, all right. We're not, you know, fair enough. But hopefully it does take him into that testimonial year. I think 2015 he signed, so if it's 2025, then yeah, that would lead him into that. And yeah, as I say, you run out of words to talk about the guy. And probably the best thing is, it's like we just all expected him to sign a new contract. I think when you heard the rumours, I think it might have been actually Fabrizio Romano that broke it about a month or so ago.
Yeah.
Everyone's like that, oh yeah, it's great news, but like, we know he's going to sign a new contract. I mean, the loyalty that this guy's shown as well was incredible, because I don't think it's often that a Rangers player gets it from all sides in Scotland. And when I say all sides, I mean opposition fans and your own support. Because I think everyone's slagged Tav off at one point or another. I know I have. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say that I haven't. I mean, everyone has. But the character that guy must have to come through some of the stuff that he's came through, especially from his own fans. But as I say, that's the way that we are. We're Rangers fans. We're always going to expect the best. And he's learned to sort of accept that and grow with it. And I think growth is probably the key word to announce with Tavernier. You know, and I just think he's grown so much, and as I say, it's brilliant that he signed that new contract.
Just ahead to the game tomorrow at Easter Road. We only went to Easter Road once last season. Early December, I think it was, when we came away with a 1-0 win. Came our roof with remember him, with a penalty towards the end of the match. It's always you're to Easter Road, and I think it's just because you half expect Hibs just to up their game the minute we rock into town, don't you?
Oh, well, they will definitely up their game. I think there's no doubt about that. I think them re-signing Martin Boyle in the last sort of couple of weeks as well is maybe going to give them a bit of a boost, especially considering what he unfortunately did to us at Hampden last year. Like, every club ups their game against Rangers in the league. I think none more so than the likes of your Hibs and your Aberdeens. Easter Road's always a tough place to go. That game last year was so tough.
Yeah.
But I think what we did do was we ran down the opposition, and eventually we got them to make a mistake, which we did through Porteous, you know, just being Ryan Porteous and doing something silly, which probably stops him actually being a good defender.
Yeah.
And obviously that leads to the penalty, and Roof tucks it away expertly. Would I take the same tomorrow right now? Absolutely. Would I take it in the same way? I don't know if I could deal with that again. But it will be interesting to see. It will be interesting, first and foremost, the lineup. Personally, I can't see much changing from last week's home game. But yeah, I don't know what you think on it, Scott, in terms of the lineup. But as I say, I can't really see it changing from last Saturday's game against St Johnstone.
No, I think you'll see Davies come back in. To be honest with you, I think he'll be keen to give him some Van Yilmaz at some point tomorrow, not necessarily starting, but even off the bench again, just to get time in his legs. We're actually doing a poll on the YouTube chat just now, just to see if guys would rather start Morelos or Cholak. I think if you see Morelos at any point tomorrow, there's maybe a good, it'll be all minutes or so. I don't think he'll start, and I'd be quite happy to start Cholak as well, for what it's worth. I think we'll go there and we'll win tomorrow. I've not seen anything so far from Hibs this season that makes me think that there'll be a difficult tie for us. We know that they're going to up their game. They're going to come out all guns blazing. Miggy Day will be up for it. All the other ones that are there will be absolutely up for it. Tomorrow for Andy Gorham, who of course played at Hibs and came to Ibrox from them. So that'll be quite a poignant moment in time for the game. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up for now, because obviously I've got a really dodgy internet connection. So I apologise if you've been viewing us on YouTube and it's not looked. Apologies for that. On Sunday night, Craig is making his hosting debut.
Yes, that should be interesting.
Colin Armstrong and Gary Valentine enjoy it, and listen, you'll have an absolute ball with you. So luck with that when it comes, and thank you for joining us tonight. We should say thanks to Frankie for doing all the driving and the directing in the background. Don't forget to join Craig for his hosting on Sunday with Colin and Gary. Good luck to Rangers tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Good night.